But you are so powerful. You are so powerful now.
I don't view myself as that. I mean, I view myself as a person that, like everybody else, is fighting for survival. That's all I view myself as. And I really view myself now as somewhat of a messenger. You know, this is a massive thing that's going on. These are millions and millions of people that have been disenfranchised from this country.
It's true, but they're listening to you, and they're taking their cue from you. So that's the question, is whether now, so close to the Oval Office, whether you will take that responsibility seriously and change your tone to try to be more unifying and less divisive.
How long have we been waiting for that?
Right.
Does he answer? Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly Presents is coming up soon, isn't it, Megyn?
Tomorrow night,
tomorrow
8 p.m. on Big Fox, American Idol Fox.
Okay.
That's how I refer to it.
Family Guy Fox.
Exactly, Empire Fox.
There you go. Regarding, you know, the sit down with him, that all started. You just went over Trump Tower because I want to talk to you about the show.
I did, and it worked out great because I wanted to put an end to everything that had been happening for many reasons, and finally he agreed to take a meeting with me. I was happy to go to him as opposed to, you know, neutral territory. And even though there was some nerves walking in, as soon as I rounded that corner, I knew he was going to be very gracious because he was smiling. He gave me a nice welcome, and we hit it off.
And when you sat across from him, was it like, well, why'd you do this and why'd you do that? Or was it more about getting him on the show?
No, neither. That meeting was just trying to get to a better place. Right. Like, we didn't talk about anything that had happened. We just talked about the race, like candidate and reporter. And, you know, well, there was a lot to talk about. And where he was. It was right before he had secured the nomination. So it wasn't until we got on camera for the interview that we talked about what has happened between us.
Kind of interesting. A neutral site would have been St. Patrick's Cathedral. So let's see. That would have been would have echoed the whole conversation. Would have been fantastic.
Imagine all the parishioners? They would have been like, "Is that what the?" Everyone would be praying for you.
Is hell freezing over? Is this the afterlife?
Right. Lord, do you have news?
Well, we cannot wait to watch this tomorrow night. It's going to be wonderful and fascinating. We had Mark Burnett on earlier, and he wanted me to thank you because he says you're a lead into his show.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I hope it works out. You know, I'm not thinking about it in terms of ratings, though, honestly. As you know, we all have day jobs. We have very good day jobs, right? I mean, that's how I make my living. But this has been a really fun thing to work on, and it exercises a different set of muscles. And, you know, it was our boss, Roger Ailes' idea. And it's been a pleasure to do longer-form interviews in a different kind of setting and have time to actually interview, right? To give the person a chance to be introspective.
A lot of people don't know this, but sometimes Megyn Kelly will call me around 3 and say, what should I lead with? And I don't like to reveal this. You don't mind that I said this.
Thank you, control room.
But, Megyn, I have a sense that you might be leading with this story. The New York Times has a big feature on Donald Trump and his relationship with women. Dates back. They went to his dad and the way his dad treated women, the way he treated him in high school. One of those women joined Ainsley earlier, and here's what she said about how she was portrayed in that, how she was portrayed in this New York Times story. Let's listen.
It was very upsetting. I was not happy to read it at all. The New York Times told us several times that they would make sure that my story that I was telling came across. They promised several times that they would do it accurately. They told me several times, and my manager several times, that it would not be a hit piece and that my story would come across the way that I was telling it, and honestly, and it absolutely was not. They did take quotes from what I said, and they put a negative connotation on it. They spun it to where it appeared negative. I did not have a negative experience with Donald Trump. He was very gracious. I saw him around all types of people, all types of women. He was very kind, thoughtful, generous. You know, he was a gentleman.
Hey, wait a minute. That's not what we read in the paper.
This is one of the intriguing things about Donald Trump, one of the many intriguing things about him. Because what are we proving with that soundbite? That the Times maybe misled when it came to this woman's story. But is there any dispute that Trump has used controversial language about women? There is not. There isn't. So what does that tell us about him? That's in the mind of the beholder. You know, and the campaign has said many times, look, women are not going to vote based on these words that he's used about women. They're going to vote based on policy, based on terrorism, based on, you know, concern about their kids and their budget and our country. And I think history has proven that is true. But the thing that's so unusual about Trump is we've never seen a presidential candidate who's taken the risks he's taken and said the kinds of things he's taken. So will that disapproval rating he has right now with women, including Republican women, carry through? Or as they get closer to November, will they vote on something different?
Well, we do know, and we all did the story last week about how the Washington Post has got a team of 20 reporters digging up dirt. Then this hit job pops up in the New York Times, which feeds into the narrative, oh, Donald Trump's got a problem with women. Ainsley talked to the woman who said, look, I was misquoted.
I wasn't bothered by it.
I'm even going to vote for him.
Well,
but then I'm going to play one soundbite and then get your analysis on that. CBS sat down with a couple of the reporters from the New York Times this morning, played Ainsley's soundbite with the woman, and watch this. They're standing by the story as they wrote it.
I interviewed Roanne Brewer-Lane, and I'm going to let her speak for herself, but I think readers of the story can digest what happened to her at Mar-a-Lago in 1990. They were at an evening pool party, and he asked her, after taking a long tour of Mar-a-Lago, if she had brought a bathing suit. When she said she had not, he opened a drawer of bathing suits. He asked her to put on one of those bathing suits. She did, and then he brought her out back to the pool in the crowd and essentially asked the crowd, you know, did they all think that she was a beautiful Trump lady? And I recall in my interview with her that she expressed she basically said, I was taken aback by this, and I think that's how we depict it. A vote for president is a profoundly personal one. There's something in your gut, and we're giving the readers information that they can use.
CBS also asked the reporters, why didn't you use any of the names of the women Trump has helped over the years? They wouldn't answer that.
Well, they do mention his one female top executive who's been mentioned in a few pieces. And I think she's a powerful testament to Trump in the office place in terms of advancement of women. He's obviously got his daughter in a powerful position. But her name escapes me right now. Barbara Rez, I think it is.
She was in charge of construction.
At a time when no women were placed in those positions. And the article talks about how Trump's dad was like, are you sure you want to do that? And Trump was like, yeah, I am sure. So, you know, he's such a contradiction in that way. He's much more complicated than, you know, sort of the buffoon that the New York Daily News, for example, would have you believe when it comes to women, when it comes to these other issues. I don't think it's as clear-cut as either side would have us believe. But I will say this. The Times, that's our job to dig into these candidates. But I think they ought to do the same to her, because Trump's allegations about Hillary's past with women and the role she played in trying to diminish the ones who claimed that they had had affairs or been attacked by Bill Clinton is also relevant. If we're going to go back 25 years on him and figure out what he did at the time, then it's fair game for her, too, especially because they're both making gender an issue.
Just one other thing regarding the women who are depicted in this, for the most part, in this story. This was 30 years ago when he was single.
A different era.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, the treatment of women, the objectification of women, this is what I was trying to go for in that debate question, which is you make a lot of comments about women's looks. A lot of comments about women's looks. And listen, he makes a lot of comments about men's looks, too. I hear he thinks you're awesome. He thinks you're gorgeous.
The New York Times also did a really good job on Clinton Cash. Remember, they took Peter Schweitzer's book and they did some stories and did some investigations now. Very curious to see when the movie came out. I saw the movie the other day about Clinton Cash. It was screened. It's going to one of those festivals. It's going to be out wide to look at the direct correlations between the donations they took and the places they got and the influence that came. I'm curious to see now that there's something, now that she looks like the presumptive nominee, that if they're going to be just as aggressive.
That, you know, the only solution is for them to be shamed into doing it. If they don't do it, they need to be shamed into doing it, right? Because otherwise they're going to play right into this narrative that people already have about them, and that Trump's having about them, that they're not fair. So this is all well and good. These guys are in the arena. They want George Washington's job. They better get hit. That's good. We should be doing in-depth pieces on them, on both of them.
Right.
That's right.
Megyn, I want to get your reaction from this. President Obama was speaking at Rutgers University at the graduation, giving the commencement speech. And this is what he had to say. It's clearly a dig at Donald Trump.
Facts, evidence, reason, logic, an understanding of science. These are good things. These are qualities you want in people making policy. If you were listening to today's political debate, you might wonder where this strain of anti-intellectualism came from. So, class of 2016, let me be as clear as I can be. In politics and in life, ignorance is not a virtue.
I know when he was talking about the wall, he was taking a dig at Trump, but generally, I think there were a lot of digs at Republicans.
The anti-intellectualism thing is so alienating. There's no reason to go there. That is such a turnoff to the people who you mean to convince, right? Isn't the goal to bring more people into the fold, to have them listen to you? As soon as you insult them by telling them they're racist, they're bigots, they're anti-science, they're stupid, you think that encourages dialogue? The other thing I thought was interesting about the president's remarks was that he went off on what I call Cupcake Nation, which I was like, yes, right on. I love that too. All the cupcakes at the universities who need safe spaces for anything that sounds different from what they're used to hearing, meaning conservative thought, which is great. I love that. However, where's President Obama been on Fox News for the past 8 years? Right? If you want to encourage dialogue with people who don't think exactly like you, why hasn't he spent more time over here in this wheelhouse and been challenged by people who may see the world differently? It's not like he can't handle it, but you got to live it. If you really believe it, you should live it. So welcome to the Kelly File, Mr. President.
So, Megyn, who else is going to be on your special?
So we've got Laverne Cox, who is right in the middle of everything right now. She's the first transgender superstar, and as you know, this has become a big issue in the bathrooms and all that. So we talk about that. Also, Robert Shapiro, O.J.'s first defense lawyer, the guy. This is amazing because I asked him what O.J. whispered in his ear the moment after the not guilty verdict, and he told me.
Oh, good.
And Michael Douglas, who all the tabloids say is dying, I'll ask him about it.
Fantastic. Okay, we're going to be watching Megyn Kelly Presents tomorrow night on Big Fox.
I'm so proud of you.
on the Big Fox.
I'm so proud of you. You're doing so well. I walk in my drugstore, every magazine has you on the cover.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing.
Okay, was it my left side? My left side is my better side.
Both sides are perfect.
Right back at you, love.
Thanks
for having me, guys.